It is only through duality that we can rest in union. Mystics, healers, and poets from across the world have been wrestling with this truth since the beginning of time. What they've come to teach us is it's this reconciliation of opposites that is at the core of experiencing life in a way that is actually healthful and liberated and spiritually uplifted. So, what exactly do I mean by this lofty statement? It is only through duality that we can rest in union. How can you actually apply this acceptance of polarity as it is experienced within you and outside of you, and live it out gently, practically, within the reality of your everyday life? How can you use this essential truth as a tool for manifesting and calling in aligned relationships, abundance, and purposeful opportunities in your life? I'm not sure that I can do my answer full justice, but to start with, I'll share how mystics and healers within the Tantric, Yogic, and Ayurvedic lineages have explained this teaching to us and how they've applied it as a tool for personal and collective liberation. One of the first insights I received in Tantra and Yoga was that in order for me to live a radiant life, it would be necessary that I experience the diversity and duality of nature within and without me in all its fullness, neither with craving nor with aversion, rather with complete acceptance. And it is only through this complete acceptance of a thing or attitude or emotion or thought as it is, as much as I or you might judge it to be wrong or not preferred, that we and you, one, allow yourself to embody the very energy that is actually needed to purify this darker, unpreferred energy, let's say, and create a more aligned reality. And two, for you to amplify the codes of perfect love within and around you. And this is how true transformation occurs, not through rejection of the thing, but through acceptance. Anything else is just a forced stretching of the elastic band the other direction, and that band is surely going to either rebound or snap. It's like noticing in yourself a habit pattern that you hate or a characteristic you feel is unfavorable. And you not only hate seeing it within yourself, you hate it more that others might judge you for it, that you may lower in status in others' eyes when they see this about you. And the mystic truth is that through complete acceptance, not rejection, of this unfavorable quality, that you actually allow for this unfavorable characteristic, which is essentially a form of energy, to move through you and out of you without blocking, resisting, grasping, repressing, suppressing. And remember, what you resist does persist. And two, you move yourself towards a state of inner compassion and freedom that results in habits and actions that will naturally be more favorable to you. And this is transcendence, experienced gently and truly. Shloka 19 of the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra roughly translates to, I quote, "Just as the power to burn is not separate from fire, similarly the range of natural experience, Shakti, is not separate from the ultimate truth, Shiva. However, it is experienced and observed as separate in the beginning. And this is a preliminary and necessary step towards entry into Shiva's knowledge. In other words, in order to transcend something, you have to become aware without imposing judgment of what you are transcending, without rejecting it, resisting it, or attaching yourself to it. To experience inner union, you first have to witness the diversity of your own inner reality in all its fullness and polarity. You can't bypass this. So the most powerful change that can happen necessarily coexists with the most complete acceptance possible, which is kind of like mind-blowing to me. I've always learned it the other way. And it's through this duality that you rest in the perfect harmony of union. Patanjali's Yoga Sutras reminds us of this too, The very attitudes that you are often made to believe are incompatible are in fact necessarily held together simultaneously in the body and in the mind if any type of serious growth is to be actualized. It's in the tension and union of two opposites that some greater third is catalyzed. For example, in the tension and union of effortlessness and effort. As we say, effortless effort. If you desire to evolve in consciousness, evolve in your capacity for creative self-expression, you will not be able to do it just by the force of effort. You need to learn the art of pulling back, of choosing pleasure over pain, of exhaling out right in the midst of stress, allowing pause, patience, and stillness right in the midst of go time. And you run the great risk of appearing as if you are sometimes doing nothing. Similarly, it's in the reconciliation of the body and the soul, two seeming opposites, that you experience any sort of evolution or ascension. As Tantra says, it is through the body that you come to know the soul. Or as Celtic mysticism says, it is through the planetary body that you come to know the cosmic soul. And as Gnostic mysticism says, it is through knowing and loving Gaia Sophia, your Earth Mother, that you come to know and love the intangible luminosity of your Divine Mother. Speaking of which, the essential mystic teaching of humility and its contrary comes to my mind. Without humility, the act of bowing down low and coming into intimacy with the earth's soil and body, there is no rising into the heavens possible. I put it in this way because the word humility is derived from the words humus, the root of which means the physical ground, soil, an entity that is our earth mother, or the dark house of mortals, serving as a contrast to the heavenly sky father. Humility is the act of coming down, closer to the earth mother, to the ground. As Swami Satyananda so beautifully puts it, when the clouds are full with water, they come closer to the earth. When the trees are full with fruits, the branches swing low. Those people who have truly outstanding qualities are humble. And it is only through humility, bowing your head down low in reverence to a larger force of intelligence, practicing a release of arrogance and egoic self-centeredness, that you naturally, easily, and truly rise up towards the cosmic God. That the fullness of your human potential is catalyzed and you ascend internally. So it's through this duality of humility and ascent that you come to rest in union. And as I write this, I speak this, I'm reminded of an experience I had about 8 years ago with my then boyfriend, Esteban, in the mountain forests of San Jose del Pacifico in Oaxaca, Mexico. So we had just shared a tea of this giant maestro mushroom, as the local who gave it to us called it, with a special kind of affection. And about an hour into drinking this tea, I felt myself being smacked down to the ground. Quite literally, I felt this majestic force push my entire body flat down to the earth. I remember feeling like it was quite impossible for me to even lift my face off the earth. For a few hours at the least. I couldn't even sit up. I couldn't even look up. It was clear that this mushroom had a power that was far superior to anything I'd ever experienced before. And she was just smacking us, lesson after lesson, the both of us, sprawled across the forest floor, apologizing to one another and to life and to humanity without even knowing what we were apologizing for. When Esteban and I finally managed to get up and the medicine was a bit lighter in our bodies, we began to speak to each other. And I remember that conversation being one of the most free, joyful, and open conversations we had ever had with each other. I couldn't quite understand at the time what it was that allowed us to be so easy and true with each other, even though we were in such vulnerable states. I never made the connection until now that in those moments, arrogance had been completely wiped out from us. Literally and energetically, we had been totally humbled, brought down to the actual soil and grounds of Earth Mother, and in that state, we had risen in our love for one another. And here was this really sweet experience of our union. How exceptional, bowing down so low to rise up so high. Up until then, we had only known how to perform this pretense of being high up and grand and good in each other's eyes, and it had always created a baseness in us that we couldn't quite understand. If only I saw this then as clearly as I see it now. As you might guess, the embrace of polarities strikes me as so essential and fundamental, partly because I long struggled with the reconciliation of opposites within many different aspects of my own life. This humility piece is just one example. The early years of my life were blotted with chronic patterns of oscillating between extreme behaviors and habits. I see how a huge part of this oscillation was rooted in my own rejection or fear of certain attitudes and expressions of myself, and then the pedestalization and grasping of their contrasts. This inner disharmony was making me so anxious and so dysregulated. I was also being smacked around by mainstream health and spirituality narratives that manifested as two extreme parts. They were in fact expressions of the same inner fracture, even if they didn't appear so on the outside. It was either rigid and righteous modes of self-discipline and disciplining others, or then extreme hedonism and greed in the name of manifestation, tantric spirituality, even Christly abundance. And since I've always channeled a major part of my energy and ambition into philosophical exploration and spiritual pursuits, I really think my ego has been extra susceptible to getting caught in these strong positions and streams and identifying with them. And it's been exhausting and limiting. I think now of William Blake, who conveys this rupture so well, and he seemed to have been raised in a similarly repressive and conservative schooling system and society as I was, where qualities like sexuality, exploration, exuberance were totally shamed. And their opposites, rationalism, containment, imposed morality, were praised and rewarded. Blake writes so beautifully in The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, "Those who restrain desire do so because theirs is weak enough to be restrained, and the restrainer or reason usurps its place and governs the unwilling." Blake believed that what prevents the full creative expression and capacity of the whole human being is the elevation of one restrictive and institutionalized form of intellectual activity, often expressed as morality, authority, and law, and the demonization of desire and sensuality and passion. But for Blake, without contraries, there is no progression. Attraction and repulsion, reason and energy, love and hate are all necessary to human existence. Problems arise when one side of the equation usurps its place and tries to dominate the dialectical relationship. The result is repressive tyranny in all its forms. And this was exactly it for me. There was this one very strong conditioning that had me banish certain parts of myself, the parts that desired bigness and desired to break rules and desired to taste every part of life, desired to be silly and laugh at things, desired to rest. My God, desired to rest, desired pleasure. All of it was criticized. But somehow those qualities within me had minds and forces of their own, and I would always swing back into extreme forms of those qualities, extreme forms of rebelliousness or greed or messiness, and then anguish over my own repression and shame of this giant appetite for life that lay within me. And so just as Blake's art was seeking to renew and release human potential and imagination from the limits of the single vision of the rational mind, I too sought out wisdom modalities that could support me in bringing my competing faculties and capacities into union. A union that could be experienced as an inner ease and trust, one that I could rely on even in triggering situations, and effectively harness to love others more generously too. Ayurveda taught me how to reconcile these opposites in a very practical and everyday manner. A simple example in Ayurvedic healthcare is the quality of hot and the quality of cold are both needed in delicate balance for there to be aliveness and radiance in your body. The hotness expressed in your pulsing blood, the warmth of your circulation, the acidity of your digestion, and the process of metabolism in your cells. Heat is necessary for there to be power in your mitochondria. And it doesn't matter if that phrase doesn't quite fit the frame of the science you know, just feel into it and it will intuitively make sense for you. Heat is necessary for conversion and transmutation, for electricity and charge. It's also needed for the sharpness of your thoughts and the passions of your heart. And then coldness, its opposite, is needed for things to taper down, for a deep sleep, for tissues to coagulate and form structure, for the coolness in your temperament. And it would be so insane to imagine fighting internally about whether hotness or coldness was better or worse, or going to extreme ends to hide the coldness within from the world around you, or then forcefully inflate the hotness if hotness was then trending in that moment. And yet, this is exactly what we do. Another example of polarity in Ayurveda includes the quality of lightness and the quality of heaviness within you. Both are needed in delicate balance for there to be vitality in your body. Lightness needed for your energetic exuberance, and heaviness needed for your sense of groundedness. If you begin to hate, hide, or attempt to urgently change the natural heaviness and slowness within you, you're surely going to create inner disease, manifesting as anxiety, overexertion, burnout, energetic restlessness. And this is exactly what we do. The medicine instead is to accept and allow both qualities of lightness and heaviness to be expressed through you as they are in their balanced amounts. Like this, the entire science of Ayurveda is built upon this reconciliation of opposites. And if disease begins to manifest, if due to inner or outer fluctuations you sway too far to one extreme, there's too much hotness or too much heaviness or too much movement, then you practice the art of simultaneous acceptance and gentle balancing actions, supported by the kinds of foods or herbs you eat, activities you partake in, thoughts you engage with, and ethics you practice. No one quality is pedestalized or demonized, and no one quality is forcefully imposed at the expense of another. You learn to love the dual nature of life and learn to see the possibility of union everywhere. It was around the time that I began to embody this art of Ayurveda with more ease and care that I began to feel more intimately the tension and togetherness of earthly desire and spiritual surrender. Another version of that change and acceptance contrast I spoke of before, or the body and soul duality. Maybe one of the most difficult pairs of contraries for me to reconcile. Here is what I know to be true from my current lived experience. Acceptance or surrender does not mean that I do not desire upliftment and ascension. An attitude of acceptance does not mean I'm somehow okay with behaviors of harm or apathy. But on the contrary, when I take on this attitude of acceptance, I become the embodiment of upliftment, ascension, and perfect love. And here is where deep-rooted health and change begins. It's really quite this simple. So there's this everyday experience of, here I am in this world of natural deliciousness, community, movement, bodily urges, passion, sensation. Do I get to live in the desire of beauty, human love, and freedom, orient myself towards it actively, and also surrender the fruits of my actions to something larger than myself? I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent with this now, but bear with me, please. There's this gorgeous part in a Yeats poem that goes, "O chestnut tree, great rooted blossomer, are you the leaf, the blossom, or the bowl? O body swayed to music, O brightening glance, how can we know the dancer from the dance? In Yeats's world, body is not bruised to pleasure soul, meaning neither imposed moral constriction nor escaping from the realities of the body is needed in order to live a spiritually uplifted life. In his matured work, Yeats reckons with the fact that the actual everyday physical world intersects with the ideal spiritual world. Earthly desire intersects spiritual surrender in the present moment of now. In fact, here the two are indistinguishable. We cannot know the dancer from the dance because they are inseparable, mutually dependent, and simultaneous. He refuses to accept the necessity of pursuing one at the expense of the other. For example, pursuing moral ideals at the expense of the desire of natural things, and vice versa. Yeats sees both the tree and its form, both the dancer and the dance in one instance of time, and is unwilling to accept one or the other as the province of ultimate value. And this is one of the most mind-blowing teachings of Tantra too, expressed in shlokas 20 and 21 of the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. One who enters the state of Shakti has the feeling of identification with Shiva without division. Then one verily becomes like the form of Shiva. In this context, it is said that Shakti is the face of Shiva. And just as space, direction, and form are revealed by the flame of a candle or the rays of the sun, similarly, Shiva is revealed by the medium of Shakti, O dear one. In the doctrine of Kashmir Shaivism, from which this text is written, Shiva is described as the ultimate reality in which there is no distinction between subject and object. Shiva is the eternal light which illuminates everything. He represents that ultimate spiritual ideal of perfect goodness, surrender, and complete acceptance. His cosmic counterpart, Shakti, is described as the nature of Shiva. She is that aspect of illumination by which it knows itself. Shakti is the mirror, so to speak, in which Shiva realizes his own grandeur. She is nature, desire, movement, time, and expression. What is exceptional is that at the cosmic level, Shakti remains forever by Shiva's side, entwined around him, seated in his lap in a loving embrace. But when Shiva has the desire to create, he sends Shakti forth with her three attributes, her power of knowledge, action, and will, which are transformed into sattva, rajas, and tamas, the three gunas or qualities of nature. And I touched on these qualities in my last video, if you want a bit of more info on that. So it's the interplay of these gunas that gives rise to the manifest world, and they are present in each and every speck of creation in differing proportions. Tantric philosophy postulates that the universe of matter and energy has evolved out of this primordial nature or Shakti, who represents pure energy. And this is why the feminine principle or Shakti, the planetary earth mother, the body, desire, physical mortal life, the potentiality and technology of your human body is most important in Tantra. Without Shakti's consent, the experience of Shiva or the ultimate surrender, still point, and truth is just not possible. He reveals himself only through her, thus initiating the process of creation and evolution. This simultaneous separation and union of Shakti and Shiva is found within every single cell of life at every scale. This duality and union is embodied in the planetary body of the earth and the individual framework of our own bodies. This is the exalted spiritual discipline, to witness and love the fullness of your body, your inner world, and the world around you as it presents itself to you in this present moment. Let it be. Allow it. Humbly love yourself and love others for what you are and they are right now. And through this acceptance, be the kind, calm, and clear, radiant force of transformation and goodness that you're seeking around you. This is how justice is served. The foolproof practice of health taught to us within Ayurveda is the harmonization of opposites through 1. Gentle and complete acceptance, not rejection, not loathing, of the current state of your body. 2. Gratitude for what is now. And 3. Nourishing yourself with a balancing input if some inner quality is too much or too little as is needed. But 1 and 2 must precede 3. Within yoga, there is the embodiment of inner union through 1. Gentle and complete acceptance of the current state of your mind. 2. Gratitude for what is right now. 3. Practicing an attitude of simultaneous equanimity and total awareness through pranayama, meditation, devotion, ethics, and selfless service. Within Buddha's yoga, there is a practice of liberating yourself through 1. Yes, you got it. Gentle attentiveness to the sensations within your body. 2. Gentle acceptance of all these sensations without craving or aversion. 3. Holding focus within this still point of complete equanimity. And within Tantra, it is resting in the sweet union of the feminine and masculine principles through 1. Gentle acceptance of your current urges and desires. 2. Gratitude for all that is. 3. Allowing for your desires and your individual will to merge with your love for Shiva, the most luminous and loving. If you can apply these steps to your daily life in this present moment of time, this gentleness of heart, this humility, this loving embrace and awe of duality, this gratitude and equanimity within every single circumstance in response to every single expression of nature and humanity right now in this moment, you will find that you are now embodying and magnetizing a type of love, health, and experience that is completely joyful and true. This is the law. And it is through this embodiment that you will directly create the most impactful tides of change and vitality in the world around you. It is only through duality that we can rest in union. Or as T.S. Eliot says, at the still point of the turning world, neither flesh nor fleshless, neither from nor towards, at the still point, there the dance is. Only through time is conquered. Let this be a prayer and contemplation for you these next weeks, and let me know what comes up for you. If there are specific contraries that you are walking through yourself right now, let me know about it too in the comments below. Hearing from you is important for me. I love you just the way you are, fiercely, ferociously. I am Niv Rajendra, and this is the Embodied Ayurveda Podcast. Until next time, goodbye.